So hello, everybody, and here I am again, RoxAnneLava's Monday Mission, and this is going to be the last one for now. So I wanted to tell you, as you've known, if you've been following my journey, you know that over the pandemic, I have really been trying a whole bunch of various and different things, and that I've been pivoting and pivoting and pivoting in order to sort of try to make things work for me. So you know that in my shoe business, that resulted in a side hustle. And as we've been talking about the side hustle, we've been talking about how that really maximizes use of my best attributes. And you also know that I have a consulting firm, and that what has been happening is there's been some stuff going on in that as well. And I've been getting a lot of play in my consulting business. And I've told you that all of this is kind of bringing me to maybe combining the two. Well, so I'm not really quite there at combining the two, but where I am is that the opportunities in my consulting business right now are greater than the opportunities in my shoe business. So what I've decided to do is to pull back a little bit on my shoes. During the pandemic, I was really focusing on pushing my shoe business. And that allowed me to work with a small number of clients as we were coming out of the pandemic in my consulting business. And that has allowed certain things to move forward in my consulting business. So at this point, I'm going to step back from the shoe business. I will still make shoes for people. I will still honor any outstanding commitments that I have with my shoe business. I will entertain conversations with people about my shoe business. But what I'm not going to do is actively promote my shoe business as I did before. So I want to tell you a little bit about the things that I've learned and remind you of the things that I have learned in the shoe business, and talk about just being an entrepreneur, because that's really what this is all about. And it's a making entrepreneur. But, you know, as a consultant, I'm still using in my particular consultancy design. I don't make a product in terms of a physical product that I hand to somebody, except that there are sometimes documents, et cetera, that are handed to people. But I create plans for people and do a lot of design work for people. So the first thing that I want to talk about in terms of this is, one of the things that I have always told people is, if you are an entrepreneur, there is no point in doing something that you don't love. And there is no point in doing something that is not sustainable for you. And you are always at the mercy of your clients. So whatever it is you choose to do, you really have to love it every day so that you can actually continue to work on it and move forward with it. The second thing that you want to do is you want to try all sorts of number of things. You want to pivot, you want to try different avenues of reaching people, connecting with people, etc. But when you start to gain traction, what you also want to do is you want to grab the opportunity and ride it out. And so that may mean that if something else happens that's really great, you may need to step back from one of your businesses or from your making and let that be something that you do, but you don't do full force in order to pursue something else. A really good example in the making and the fine art area is that very often it can be a chicken and an egg story. One might really love to be a fine artist or a craft or maker, artisan. And one may be asked to teach at some point, or one might try to teach on their own and be very successful at it. And one may find a great love of teaching. And so what you may do is you may then seek opportunities to become an educator and to teach your craft, rather than to just make your craft for clients or make product for sale. And so what has happened is that your making has led you to a love of teaching, which leads you to a career in teaching, which is not what you expected at first as the maker. Sometimes people who are makers or fine artists choose to try to become adjunct instructors at universities because, well, it's a way for them to make money while they pursue their discipline. And some people maybe don't have a joy of teaching, but likely you would need to have a joy of teaching in order to be successful at being that instructor. And so people may have a balance between the two. Other times, so what my point is, there is no shame in pivoting, changing, growing, developing a different interest or developing another passion, and letting something that you thought was going to be your passion sit on the back burner and mull, because maybe it will come to the forefront again in a different time. Maybe you will approach it with a different perspective. So even if you decided that, oh, I love this other thing, I'm going to give up my fine art and just make that something that is a hobby for me. No shame in that. And we've talked about that before. So what has consequently happened for me is, as you will all know, I've been exploring how to be an independent maker, an independent seller during this pandemic. And one of the things that I've found is that a lot of the things that we think are not really true. So you might remember that I tried reaching out to my local neighbors for sales, and that was a relative bust. And again, I'm not just telling you this from me, I'm telling you this from my other friends and makers too. Yes, there are people who will support local artisans, but probably not enough to sustain you full time in a really big business. The second thing that I did was we looked at a lot of marketing tools. I've looked at a lot of marketing tools. You might remember that I made the wreath, and we talked about the wreath even just a few weeks ago. That was a wreath of shoes. It was a way to say, this is what goes on in my house. I also tried to give away some craft ideas for people to come by my house and know that I was a maker. All of these things did not generate business. You will also know that I went into the bridal showcases. Yes, bridal has been tough because it's been an unknown, but again, that investment for over a year has not really paid off. And you all know that I'm doing the side gig, and that too is not paying off for a lot of reasons. One of the biggest reasons is because the space that I am in is not presenting a consistent program or message. Okay. So something is happening with me giving away the tiffins that I've told you about. Something is happening with me making the upcycled product. And then a third thing is happening with me having my own product there. It's not a very cohesive or logical message to somebody who's just walking by at a farmer's market. So that is probably the largest reason why that is not successful. I have been also looking at a number of other things. So I've been toying with online learning for a long time. I've looked at Udemy, I've looked at Skillshare, and I've thought a lot about what do I want to teach and how should I teach it. I am a natural teacher. I've been teaching for a long time. It's a skill set that I have. It's easy for me to draw on what I've already created for a number of things to create curriculum. I know how to do it. I know how to give it to people. And one of the other unique things about me is I jumped on the online learning bandwagon when we first could do it. So I've actually been teaching online. I guess I'm going to have to say it's from the early 2000s. And so because I've been teaching that long online, the switch to online during the pandemic has not been so difficult for me. What I have done is I have picked up a lot of independent retail clients who really need to reset their store for the future based on a number of things that have happened during the pandemic. Independent retailers are generally, much like independent makers, people who are passionate about something. And they start a business because they're passionate about that thing, not because they have a business degree. There are a lot of consultants out there who can give all kinds of business expertise, but one of the things that is really my expertise is visual merchandising. And it is probably the most important and most underused tool in a retailer's toolkit. So that's what I've been working with the independent retailers on. And with my work, it has brought me to a place where I can come up with a number of ways to reach that market, build that market. You may have heard of a marketing funnel. This is where we get a whole bunch of people at the top and we funnel them down closer and closer and closer till they become a customer. Well, there are other marketing models out there, and I'm going to use one that kind of like is that way, but I think of it more as a pyramid, because the first level of reaching that customer is going to reach many, many more customers. So one thing I want you all to think about is, because it's out there as a model and it's one that anybody can leverage if you think about it, is a subscription model. So when you think about the subscription model, one of the things you want to think about is, what are you really good at? Like, what are you the expert on? Malcolm Gladwell talks about this person. He talks about 3 people that are important in the world of business. And the person who's an expert on something and likes to share, is able to teach it to others, is called a maven in his world. And so you probably can be a maven of something. I always like to think about it in terms of my friends, my closest friends. What do they always ask me about? Well, the 2 things they always ask me about are technology and fashion. I'm an early technology adopter. I always have been. As you can tell, I've been teaching online since we can do it. So for me, those are 2 things that almost anybody who knows me will ask me about. And for the most part, I can tell you what's going on in tech, and I can tell you what's going on in fashion. Those 2 things have been an integral part of my work history, my career, and my development even as a maker and an artist. So what are you the go-to person for everybody in your group? And that's the first thing to think about. And then what you want to think about is, am I passionate about those things? But what are you passionate about? What is it really about making that you love? Because maybe what it really is being able to sit and concentrate on one thing and really do a deep dive in it and learn about it. Maybe that's something you can share with people. Maybe that journey is something you can share with people. And maybe you can do it in a regimented way so that people will be able to subscribe to you. Maybe you make something that is really cool, something everybody would want, and something everybody can easily make at home. If that's true, listen, you can teach that course. You can think about how you can riff off of that one course. You can put together kits for that course so you can sell the class, you can sell the kit. You can think about having it in multi-tiers, so buy the directions and a supply list. That's at one level. Buy for X number of dollars more, buy the kit from me and the directions. For X number of dollars more, you can buy the online tutorial, the kit, and the written directions, and you don't need the supply list then, although you might need to supplement with supplies. And if you want the whole shebang, the real VIP experience, you can take this class live with me. And for this price, you get live with me, access to the tutorials, access to the directions, and a kit. You've built something there. Okay, now that's an educational way to deal with it. The second thing you can do then is you can say, okay, well, each quarter I'm going to bring you a different product. So at whatever level you want to buy in, you can subscribe. and save. So maybe each quarter I'm going to do a different project. So whichever level you want to pick, you can do as an individual. Or if you want that VIP experience, you can subscribe annually for X number of dollars, which is X number per quarter. Okay, give a little discount. So these are all ways you can think about how to structure something you are really good at. So we're about halfway through today, and let me just say that this is the plan and how I came up with this and what's going to happen. So I understand who my niche market is. I understand independent retailers. I've worked with them for a very long time, and I understand their needs. Because I have a long history of teaching, I also know that one of the things that you really have to do in order to help somebody who wants to learn is you have to meet them where they are. And you have to be realistic about what it is they need, how you can provide it, and how you can provide it in a cost-effective way so that you are making money and they are getting what they need and can afford to get what they need. So there's not a lot out there about visual merchandising, as I said. It is a difficult thing to become educated on because there are really only a few institutions with a few programs that actually offer visual merchandising as courses, and many of them do not offer them in a way that you will be able to take them unless you are A, geographically near that place, and B, willing to sign up for the program. Visual merchandising is not something that is generally taught as an adult enrichment course because sadly you need a lot more. It's a big, broad topic, and it's very important to have a breadth of knowledge in order to do it well. So it's not something that, you're just going to go to your local community college and they're teaching a visual merchandising class. What they might be teaching is how to design a store window, how to create an interior display. These are all things that are part of merchandising, but merchandising is a much, much larger topic. So what I've really been struggling to do in my consultancy is a couple of things. One is, how do I reach and disseminate information at a low cost, low time, small bite way that will provide pieces of information that will build together, right, to provide a foundation for understanding visual merchandising. So that's like step one. I've just got to get your feet wet to start to understand what visual merchandising is, to think about small pieces of it and how you can integrate this into your store kind of right away. All right. Second stage is, how do I educate them to the best practices of the strategies, tactics for visual merchandising so that they know the general rule of thumb. And then they can think about how they can apply those tactics and strategies to their own store. And then the third part of it is, how do I get you deep inside so that your understanding of this merchandising can actually permeate everything in your business so that you can improve your sales and your profit. So, boy, has it been a long time coming, but it finally came together in the last month. And so, former client who is a friend, who has been discussing this with me for, I don't know, maybe 5 years, introduced me to a club model where this is an online coaching model that provides a certain level of general coaching each week for a price per month. And if you make that price low enough and accessible enough, then think of it this way. It's kind of like how Walmart makes money, is that they have very low prices, but they have lots of people who buy that item, as opposed to how a luxury brand makes money, where they have a very high priced item, but only a few people buy it. Okay. So this is sort of my entry point. You can cancel at any time. You're going to get a series of products for that monthly fee, and that series of products is going to be distributed weekly. So small bites, small period of time, but there for you to access at any time that you want, as long as you continue to be a club member. Also think of not Walmart, but even Sam's Club, right? So when we want to buy things in bulk, we join something like a Sam's Club to do that. And Sam's Club makes the money because they have lots of customers who are buying lots of product. They can get a cheap price and pass that on to their customers. Okay. The second piece of my puzzle is to develop an online course. Now, I've developed online courses in this topic before, so I understand what I need to do. But here's the difference. The delivery of that course needs to be in a different way than it would be in a classroom. Okay. And the second thing that needs to happen with that is that the cost of the course has to be, again, something my independent retailers can afford in time and money. Okay. The third part of that is an ongoing consulting program with an annual contract that helps do another level and provides another level of service to that consumer. So in order to really leverage that VIP package, which is the online annual contract consulting, that has to come at a higher price because there are many, many, many back-end costs involved in that. In order to really leverage that, the customer has to have this baseline understanding and then a slightly sort of intermediate understanding before they can get to the advanced understanding that will allow them to do this. So I'm implementing a subscription model. I'm implementing an education model. Of course, I can give discounts to my subscription model for those education pieces. I am also then implementing a premier product at a higher price point with a contractual minimum that will allow people to move through my strata or to enter at various other points. So if you think you know everything about, you have a good baseline, you just want the education, you can purchase that for an individual a la carte package price. If you want the advisory, there's a whole nother deal about it. So this is kind of where I'm at the moment. And I wanted to share with you that that means that what I'm actually going to be doing is working on creating other online tools and things. So my time in the RoxAnneLava Monday mission is done. I've shared a lot of this with you, and there's a lot out there for makers. Now, the interesting part that I will share with you also is that once I get this up and running with the independent retailer in mind, I am considering doing the same model for a maker. So again, it will help that maker who's not making a lot of money, who needs to know basic business tools about making, entry level, monthly coaching with weekly delivery for a very reasonable price. You can try it out as long as you want. You can cancel anytime. I will then set up the educational part for that as well. And then you will have the two tools that will really be helpful for you. And some people will become crossover people because if you're a maker and a seller, the actual selling part of it might be worth it for you to be to learn more about visual merchandising. So again, this is how it's all coming together for me. So let's just recap. I've got 5 more minutes with you for right now. So I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm going to say till we meet again. Launching soon through my consultancy, which is Ono, O-N-O, made in the 191.com, will be a visual merchandising club for a monthly subscription fee. That's step A. Step B is the educational program of courses, which would be available at a discount to my subscribers, but will be available to anybody who chooses to take them for an a la carte pricing. And the third thing that I will be offering is a premier consulting experience with an annual fee. So that's how I'm going to put it together. And as I took 2 years to really investigate my shoe business and consider how to move forward with that and experiment and pivot, I will now be focusing on these 3 arms for my consulting business. And I'm going to see how I can build that out and make that happen. And that's what I will be spending my time doing these days. So it's been great to speak with you. I've had a good run with you all. It's been about 7 or 7.5 months. And speaking with everybody and putting out there what I do and sharing what I do has been something that I have very much enjoyed, and I hope you have enjoyed it too. I look forward to seeing you again. So, a biento, till we meet again. And if you are interested, ONO, made in the 191. It's all text except for 191 are the numbers.com. You can come visit me there and you will see all of the things that I am doing on that side of my business, and there will be something for you to see and get involved in. So thanks again for coming, and take really good care, and I hope to see you in the future. Best of luck.